All right, what is going on, everyone? We are back with another episode of the Platform Podcast. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. If it is your first time watching on YouTube, listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure that you guys go check out any of the past shows at the Platform Mix on all socials. And today we have our biggest guest to date, a DJ that I've looked up to since I started DJing. I've been able to hear him play a couple times, one of the best to do it, the undisputed club DJ world champion, Konflikt. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm great, Dex. Thanks for that great intro. I'm the biggest because I probably weigh the most right now, but
Yeah.
yeah.
the heavyweight champ right now?
No, I'd be light heavyweight, but yeah,
Yeah.
we're close.
Well, thank you again, man, for taking the time to sit down. I know that you are a very busy man. I'm excited to dive into some conversation with you and go over some topics that we got lined up. We'll talk about how you got started in the industry, how you've continued your success throughout your many years of being a DJ, your new brand and your business, My Favorite DJ Agency, and everything that went into creating that company and what you have to hold in the future. How agencies work and some of those past experiences that you've been through personally, and then some recent changes that you've made in your preparation techniques, mental and physical health in the nightlife industry, and a whole lot more. So, first, we'll kick it off with a little icebreaker. What to you right now is the most important quality that a DJ can offer?
Being self-sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah, being self-sufficient. There might be situations where an agency can help, but usually that's down the last mile stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's few times if the DJ is not coming from a major market or is not built a really good brand for himself or herself. Um, it's really difficult to place them into new marketplaces. So cold emails will usually fall on deaf ears. But if that DJ is able to, this is just one example, is able to go out to the venue they want to work at, build a relationship, and then right when it's time to book, they they take it off of their hands and give it to their agency and say, look, you do the invoicing, the contracting, the payment collection, and the payouts to me. All the clerical and bureaucratic work that DJs and artists don't really care to do, that self-sufficiency will synergistically work for both the agency and the DJ because they're both doing their part.
Yeah.
um, First thing I can think of, also just being self-directed, self-sufficiency, self-directed, posting when they should post, keeping their brand alive, doing the work when like they might not want to, stay on top of the things that they have to complete.
Yeah, I think that that would go a long way too. I mean, obviously, if you are passing that off, then it allows you to focus on the things that you actually need to as a DJ, not have to worry about filing invoices, getting stuff booked, all that kind of stuff. Lets you actually focus on being a DJ. So tell me, how long have you been DJing, and what got you actually started in DJing? Did you come from a music background growing up? Did you have parents that were kind of influencing you, brothers, sisters?
No, when I was 14, I had some money left over from a birthday, and my cousin at the time was really into breakdancing. And
Okay.
one of that we saw on a lot of these breakdance videos that he had was there's always a DJ playing. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I was not a great dancer, so I was like, let me try this DJ thing. And so with the birthday money, I bought a turntable and a mixer that came with two records, and then that was kind of how it just started. And
Mhm.
then being 14 years old, I was kind of interested in it. So when you show interest at that young age, it's all you can think about. It's all you do. So the progression just moved forward from how many more records can I buy? What other mixers are there? Is there another turntable? Where do I put this? Do I need a coffin? And just slowly built up in that way until about 18, where I was called in to play my first nightclub. Uh, and so from there, it's been 15 years or so of being a professional DJ.
And now in that time frame, you've been involved in major competitions. I mean, Red Bull 3 style, played at every major club all over the US and other countries. I mean, you're out in Japan. Uh, you really are the official, unofficial, undisputed club DJ world champion. So, what do you
No, no,
think?
no. There's no
No
unofficial.
unofficial,
I have
just
a belt.
official.
So yeah. No, I mean, how would it be unofficial? Who else has a belt? No one. So yeah,
It's a good point. Good point.
yeah.
What do you think it is that makes you so good at what you do?
Completely candidly, I think I got lucky.
Really?
Yeah, I think I got lucky because I'm I was blessed with a set of parameters that altogether aren't great in any one sector, but they're good across the board. So I heard George St. Pierre say this once. He's like, I'm not a specialist. I'm not the George St. Pierre is a UFC fighter. Sorry,
Mhm.
somebody that know.
For people that don't know.
He's a UFC fighter. He was probably one of the best, top three ever. And he said, I'm not a specialist. I'm not great at one thing. I'm not the greatest jujitsu practitioner. I'm not the greatest striker. I'm not the greatest wrestler, but I'm very good at all of them.
Mhm.
And so when I choose to implement one plan, I'm very good at it, even though I might not be the greatest, but I'm good across the board. So the set of parameters of DJ Conflict are, they encompass certain things that are kind of intangibles or stuff that people wouldn't think about, stuff that I think about that I've seen. It's like at the right time, I looked the right way, I wore the right things, potentially, I met the right people, fell into the game at the right time. There's lots of intangibles and variables that just happen to line up just as I needed it in the moment that I needed it. So I would love to take credit and say I'm really good. And all I'll say is I'm very good at a lot of things, but not great at any one.
Well, you're definitely very modest too, because I have heard you play live and you definitely are very, very good. Do you think there's any specific time that you could pinpoint of where your career actually kind of took off?
In the mid in the mid 2010s, probably early 10s, I got a message on MySpace from somebody in Toronto that wanted to book me. That was the first out of town gig that I ever did. It was me on my own booking it myself. Um, and I realized that that was a reality for some DJs. Some DJs got to play out of town, and I was just trying to focus on so much local work that I never even thought about leaving work in town to go get work out of town. And I happened to link up with an agent, and Miami was so popular at the time that everybody from everywhere was coming to party. So I had business cards with me every week. And so what I did is I started passing along this info to my agent, and the agent was very, very, very good at getting dates on the calendar. And so from there, it was like every weekend or every week, I was working 4 times a week in Miami, and then I would leave one day open for the agent to book something else. And then it was 2 days, and then it was 3 days. And then there was a threshold that was crossed at one point, which was the local gigs were less than 50% of the calendar, and the out of town gigs were more than 50% of the calendar. At that point, I basically said, all right, take the whole calendar and let's roll with it. And it became a thing where I was like traveling 99% of the time on weekends to go play music everywhere.
Yeah.
Once you build that kind of credibility with the marketplace, it almost feels as a booker and as a nightclub, it almost feels like if you don't have the DJ that's playing everywhere else, you're missing out.
Mhm.
That's what I think is another lucky variable of the situation was that I had an agent that was like a laser beam when it came to putting dates on a calendar.
So explain it to me a little bit more. You're DJing in Miami, you're having everybody else come, and you're able to kind of network with everybody else that's coming into town there, that's listening to you play. You're then passing along that info to your agent, and then your agent is the one getting you connected with everybody else booked out from there.
Yeah, so I filtered the information from somebody that might come in and say, "Hey, I own a club in Toronto." I would say, "Great, what's your name? Give me your number," and then I would just forward it to my agent. Club in
Yep.
Toronto, in Miami. I would get a business card and I'd take a picture of it and send it. And before before the end of the night, that person would have an email in their inbox saying, "Hey, Conflict, is ready to play. What are your available dates? Like, et cetera, doing the sales pitch. So that's how it happened.
Your agent was working that quick at that time. And
Yes.
obviously now we're having a shift in the DJ culture. You're starting up your own agency that you got branded on your hat there, already got the merch out online. I've seen you've been posting on Instagram. Is the site up and running everything now?
The site is up and running. Yeah.
Nice.
It was. Yeah, man. That was an exodus in itself. I hired one development team. They didn't do it. Second development team did everything that I needed, and it's been fantastic. I told these people, I was like, yeah, anytime I need a website, you're going to be my people.
Yeah, the go-to now. That means you're gonna push it to other DJs. Other DJs are gonna use that word of mouth and end up probably using them too. So,
Yeah.
but recently, music-wise, I mean, you shared on your podcast how you kinda went through a shift in how you prepare for sets, and you've actually been kind of pre-planning playlists as opposed to what did you used to do? Were you just kinda always walk in, feel out the room, and just kinda wing it?
Yes, that was my strategy. But what I realized was that because there's this dead space in music for a certain number of years where there's unplayable music or music that no one cares about because record labels decided to just put things out there without quality control.
Yeah.
Um, we have this pretty big dead space where we don't have any of the middle. Uh, I would say if you qualify music as the newest and then some of the middle ground that's not so new but not too old, and then like the classic hits as the third tier, which is everything behind a specific year, let's say. That middle space is almost completely empty. So what we're having to do is just play new stuff and jump all the way to the classics, quote unquote club classics, that for some people that are 21 years old might be songs that came out 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Some people that are in their 30s are songs that came out 15 years ago, right? So like it's all dependent on the crowd you have in front of you, but that middle ground is gone. There's nothing there, and the record industry really did themselves a disservice by just trying to put together meme music as is still coming out. But because of the fact that we're having to jump so far back to be able to play an entire night, the pattern in my mind that is able to put together on the spot songs by looking at the crowd can't do it because I have to go too far back to a point where the vault in my brain isn't even considering music from
Yeah.
2000, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. But because those songs are extremely popular now, what makes the most sense is to create either a set list or a big folder of things that I definitely want to go to and that I haven't thought of. But in the moment, as I'm scrolling through music in my house or somewhere in a quiet environment where I can think, I say, "Oh yeah, I would like to play this. Oh yeah, I'd like to play that. Oh, this is cool. This is cool." And I just put it in the folder. And then throughout the night, if I feel like I want to do something different, I'll open that folder and go, "This song would go great." But I would not have thought of that song because it's too far outside of the realm of the musical pattern search in my head.
Yeah. And then if you're in that time crunch while you're DJing, your mind is going 1,000 miles a minute. You're not gonna think of this song that came out 15 years ago until you have it in that crate. Yeah, that's a good way of thinking of it. And I know that you've previously worked with BPM Supreme. I don't know if you still are working with Club Killers as a consultant or anything like that, but I know that you were working with them to some capacity. From your podcast, I've heard you talk about in the past how you literally will go through all of your record pools and listen to every song, know where you were left off previously, and literally go through every song to see what new music is out and what's playable, and what you can download. Obviously, with the state that music is in right now, is that something that you still do to try and find new music, or what do you do now when you're searching for new music?
So lately, what I've been doing is a more targeted search. I'm going based upon lists, and then I'll go based upon specific genres that I want to capture.
Yeah.
But recently, what I found was that I just kind of went through some of the songs, and I thought, let me deviate from this practice that I have been implementing, which is just it's a shortcut of sorts. Let me just listen to some stuff, and I found some really good stuff in between. Just uploaded on these pools that I feel like are playable songs. So I'm gonna probably try to expand the musical palette a little bit, because I also feel like anytime that we are in one space for too long, there's an eventual cycle swing. So if right now we're playing a bunch of the old stuff and it's working really well, that means that eventually we're going to cycle out of it and the swing is going to go in another direction. And people are either going to
Mhm.
want newer stuff, or want things they don't know. So it's important to kind of stay on top of that general public taste, to be able to continuously provide music that people can enjoy when they go out.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like right now the state of music is so sample heavy where it's just every single song is just a remake from something else, and then it's just the new artist with lyrics on it. Um, and it's just kind of crazy to me that it's not really new music that is taken off at all right now. Do you think hip hop wise, I mean, I know you've talked about it not having the Billboard number ones, will make a resurgence anytime soon aside from the Drake and your top guys that are really the only ones that are putting out hits that are staying relevant for more than a week or two?
Uh, yes, it's the song genre that a lot of people have grown up with. So I think that it will.
What do you think
Um,
it takes?
here's the deal. I'm not going to give it 100% certainty,
Okay.
because disco came in and disco disco left, and disco was real popular for a number of years. Classic rock, well, classic rock today. The rock of the '60s gave way to the contemporary consensus that disco is what we should all listen to. Gave way to '80s rock and synthesizer fueled music. Gave away to grunge. Gave away to potentially pop slash hip hop. So maybe I think it will always remain, but will it take the number one spot? I don't think so, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What would it take? It would take the record labels to actually look at a long term vision, instead of saying, how can we make some money now, today, this week, this quarter? It would take them to say, this song sucks. This
Mhm.
lyrical content is trash. You sound like a third grader that just learned how to curse. Like, this is not something we want to put out. At the same time, the problem is that people are consuming it. So, how do you, as a business, tell them not to do stupid things on music if stupid things are selling?
Yeah.
So, I don't know where the buck stops in that chain of events to get music to get better. Do we, as a society and as a culture, and how do you tell young kids that what they listen to is trash? It's
Yeah.
been happening every generation since the world started, right? When the Beatles were playing music, parents were like, "This is godless trash music. You are not allowed to listen to it." And then you know how that's how that one ended up, right? I would say Beatles one, parents from the '60s zero. So how do you even do that? I don't know. I honestly, it's something that I would have to sit down and strategize. It would have to be a massive, massive campaign, that it would have to almost be an intelligence coordinated campaign. Like, it would not be as easy as, let's put out good music. You would have to redefine and reshape the way that culture works, and what people deem to be cool and fun, and then start reshaping the landscape before you even put in a different kind of sound. So I don't know how to answer that question better than I have.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. There's so much music out right now that's just I personally listen to it and I'm like, who the fuck thought that this was a good song to put out? But then, like you said, at the same time, the business side of it, people eat it up. Those same consumers that like that current music out right now might think what we think of their music, that it sucks, and they're going to think that of the actual music that we think is good. So it's kind of a wild dynamic that's going on right now. And social media plays so much a part into it where people are making this meme music, TikTok music, stuff like that, that they just know will go out and go viral real quick and sell. So, as far as for your podcast, have you talked about uh Pioneer Serato Alpha Theta merger?
No, I mean it's a cool thing to look at. I'm not in love with those kind of mergers when something that we use so frequently and in so many different venues, when all of these things converge, it almost becomes a situation where they can dictate how everything moves forward. Whereas if they were separate, we might have some more options, even though we didn't have that many to
Mhm.
begin with. But yeah, when everything's together, then they can just dictate the entire trajectory of how we do things. And if they say, "Hey, we're getting rid of the crossfader on all our mixers," then what are we going to do? You have to go to every single nightclub out there and say, "Hey, don't get this brand that you've been rocking with for the last 20 years. You have to get something else." I mean, it would happen, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. So, on one side, I'm optimistic that the things that they'll do will be synergistic with hardware and software, and potentially they will streamline the methods uh, that we use to play music. And on the other hand, it's kind of like, let's see what happens. The cynical slash cautious questioning part of me is always looking at things with a duality like that.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was asking if you've talked about it or touched on the topic at all, because I'm kind of in the same boat where okay, now if they're going to own everything, um prices of all that Pioneer equipment already is crazy high. And if it does become the only option for, let's say, if you want to be able to play on Serato, you have to have Pioneer equipment. They kind of monopolize that and then can really do whatever they want for DJs to have to buy their equipment. So it's something that I didn't know what your take on it is right now. So
Well, that's kind of it. There's hope, like look at Apple. Apple basically
mhm.
just took one or two different sectors of technology and just said, "Yeah, this is us now. Thank you. Move."
Mhm.
And I feel like they did a pretty good job with it. Um, without discussing, I guess, business practices too in depth, the products that they've made have made everyone's life better.
Yeah,
So maybe this is an opportunity for Pioneer to have an Apple moment, but we'll see.
we will. You've obviously been in this DJ game for a while, like you talked about. You've found yourself ways to adapt to new paths, whether it's starting My Favorite DJ, the podcast, starting your own new business, which we'll get into even more in depth. Uh, Honestly, it's so impressive to me because I do think that this game of DJing is very difficult to be consistent and successful in for an extended period of time with everything else that goes into it besides just the DJ in itself. You have to be able to market yourself. You have to be able to maintain relationships with venues that are going to book you, who over time might have different management, have different owners. They may want to shift and go a completely different direction and just not have you DJ there anymore for whatever reason, and might want the new young up and coming DJ. And then obviously staying on top of these music trends, knowing what to play for the crowd. How have you been able to stay successful and stay on top for such an extended period of time?
I think part of it is the acknowledgement of no plan B. Uh,
Okay.
if this does not work, I am broke. If this
Yeah.
doesn't, I don't eat. And then there's that. And then just focusing all of my attention and extra energy into the DJ game, and feeling and seeing and being perceptive. I think I would be doing myself a disservice if I did not mention that I think that my ability to be perceptive in more ways than one, I mean, be perceptive of the marketplace, what direction is music going in, who's popular, why are they popular, why is this happening, why is this movement occurring, just generally being in tune and perceiving the world in the bubble that we live in, which is the DJ bubble, and being able to maybe guesstimate a half step in advance where things are going to go to, and then having the having the ability to execute on that half step before others do, or at the same time that they do, so you're not left behind. Um, you have to live, you have to breathe, and you have to exist in the thing that you want to be successful at, because it's the only way that you won't be left behind by the other person that might be next to you that's living, breathing, and existing in that space.
Yeah. Yeah, so often right now, I mean, it is hard because if you aren't putting 100% in, you know that there is going to be somebody else that is. Or even right now, there's so many different social media celebrities, whatever you want to call them, um, that now want to shift into DJing and then could end up losing bookings to them who obviously for you your DJ skills speak for themselves. On top of that, you are ahead of the curve as far as staying on top of your branding, staying on top of how you market yourself. Do you ever kind of get upset when you see some of these social media celebrities get bookings, or like you talked about, is that just kind of part of the business and you know that, hey, it's an opportunity for this venue to make money by bringing in this name, even though skill wise there's no comparison between what they're going to play and how you could read a room and make that club money.
Maybe at one point in my career, I was upset about DJs getting put on when they didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
But that was very early on. And then I realized that when there's a celebrity, quote unquote, at the club, they sold a bunch of tickets, and then the club sold a bunch of bottles.
Yeah.
And then everyone that's involved in that enterprise is incentivized to do it again. So as a business, I understand it. Is it the most pure artistic practice? No. Are they shitting all over the guys that and girls that take a lot of years to get good at playing music? Yes. Do I think that they care? No. Whether nightclub owners sell a good time and good music, or whether their focus is the bottom line
Hmm.
and selling alcohol and a door charge for the experience, it's very owner dependent. And you don't get to have a multi-million dollar nightclub if you're entirely focused on the artistic merit of the music that's being played. There's a certain threshold that you have to be comfortable with saying, yeah, look, this guy's a great DJ, but this other guy brings X amount of dollars through the door. So, from a business perspective, I understand it. From an artistic perspective, I understand it as well. It's not, it's a shitty practice, but what are you going to do? Some artists, they go to the grave being broke, and then they only get success posthumously years later. I guess the correlation that I'm drawing is the fact that sometimes art isn't recognized enough in the moment, and maybe a lot of these club owners that think that the bottom line is more important than the music would understand that the bottom line is mostly driven by the music. But if they don't, because they have an artist that comes in, or a celebrity that comes in and sells tickets, and they have a great pop in their gross profit for, or their gross for the night, then you know it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know your feelings on that. If you even really care anymore, or being so business minded like you are, if you just see it as, yep, that's all kind of part of the game. They know what they're doing to kind of make this money.
You're asking me directly, like what I feel about it. It's whatever. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
You can't get upset at it. It's part of the marketplace. Like what can I control?
That's how
What can
I
I?
personally feel. Like I could give a shit less. I just feel like so many people will bitch about it on your Twitter or anything else. Like you said, it's out of your control. So it's just kind of funny to me to see how DJs will complain about everything. So but
I don't know if that's a fair assessment. DJs won't ever.
not
I
everything. Yeah.
honestly, people just in general tend to complain a bit. I think it's part of the human condition. It's like, oh man, this is terrible. I can't believe this happened while you're sending that message out into the world from an air conditioned house over the internet that's wireless, that was hooked up by people that you hired, that flows through lines that you never set underground. Like, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Perspective, right?
Yeah. Like a lot of those other DJs and celebrities, people like that, they're traveling all over, playing different nightclubs. You've been in the same shoes, playing everywhere from Cali to Vegas to obviously where you are in Miami to being out in Japan recently, going from city to city, constant flights. How often do you feel like you're just completely burnt out? And how do you deal with that if you are feeling that way?
um I don't ever feel burned out.
Really?
Yeah. Not anymore. I guess I felt I wouldn't call it burned out. I wanted to get off of the every weekend travel routine because it didn't give me time to focus on anything else. If I'm traveling on Friday to city A and Saturday city B, that means that on Thursday I'm getting mentally prepared and gearing up. I also can't really expend too much energy on Thursday because I have to conserve some of it. I mean, I could maybe do a light workout, but I have to conserve most of my energy because I have 2 days of rigorous travel coming up. So Thursday is in preparation for Friday. Friday, take off to city A, land, potentially take a nap, eat something, shower, go to the gig, play music, go back to the hotel room. First flight out. So maybe sleep, maybe not sleep. If sleep for very little time. First flight out of the airport at city A, landed city B, mid morning or midday, depending on what coast it's in. Get to the hotel room, take a nap, eat, go play music. Back on the first flight. So maybe sleep, maybe not sleep. Sunday, back to my house eventually, whether it's early morning or late afternoon, depending on what coast you're flying from. So now you've landed on Sunday after doing a lot of work and a lot of moving. So Sunday's pretty much a wrap,
Rest
and then
day?
you wake up if you're able to. Then Monday is kind of a rest day, like decompression from the nonstop movement that you had. So then you really have Tuesday, Wednesday left over because Thursday you're already gearing up for the next weekend. So you have two
Yeah.
days to get everything done. That whether it be local necessities like grocery shopping or laundry or getting your license plate renewed, or you have to do some sort of a document for travel, whatever the case might be. You have 2 days for it. So I guess if you're a single person, which I was for a while, that's not a problem. But when you start incorporating a family, it's impossible. And I didn't want that kind of cycle and stress because it was beyond what I thought would be acceptable when the responsibility of family comes along as well.
Yeah, because everything you just explained sounds like I would absolutely be burnt out. But if you're saying now you've adjusted and kind of changed your schedule so that way you're not dealing with that kind of rigorous amount of travel and just so many things to do, that's what helps you with avoiding that burnout now, then I I 100% get that. Cuz I mean, even people that are listening to this, if they just hear everything you went through, they'll be like, "Holy shit, you gotta be burnt out after that." And you're not at all. You're are you just so used to the schedule or just good at balancing your time to avoid that burnout?
I don't drink when I work. That's number one. Number two, if it's got to get done, it's got to get done.
Yeah. Do you drink at all?
Sometimes sometimes, but very rarely. If I'm in the right place at the right time with the right person, then yeah.
I mean, yeah, I always see you on your story working out, whether you're doing MMA, kickboxing, BJJ, anything like that. So I know how important staying in shape is to you, where
Mhm.
that's kind of why I was asking about the drinking portion. Um, because being in this nightlife industry, like you were just talking about being on flights, possibly sleeping, possibly not sleeping, are you going to eat? You don't actually know if all those things are happening the way that they should. So, as far as the mental side of things, the burnout, the being able to handle that, you also have the physical side of things. How much do you think that that is important to be able to stay in shape while working in this crazy nightlife industry?
I think it's individual dependent because I know guys that don't work out at all and they're doing fine. But for me, I have to exercise because it helps with all the other facets of my life. So keeping the body in tune is just as important as keeping your emotions in tune. It's just as important as making sure that you're working on different, like, so I guess if you look at the different sectors of a human, you have the physical body, you have your emotional state, you have your intelligence, um, you have maybe spirituality. If you dive into that sector, it's like
Mhm.
we spend years in school learning, so we're expanding our intelligence, and then as we work, we're constantly using our intelligence. um, you should also be using your body to do what it was built to do, which move things, exercise, jump, run, because if not, things kind of fall out of balance. And I'm not a big fan of not being in the best shape in any of these sectors that you can be.
Yeah. That's definitely something that you got to stay on top of. I know that since moving to Nashville, I've took my personal health a lot more seriously. Milwaukee was just kind of crazy, just a lot of drinking, just being in a little bit smaller city. Since moving here, I've lost almost 50 pounds and just got in a lot better shape to where I used to be, and cut down on drinking, just feeling a thousand times better, and then just being able to do a lot more. And I definitely feel like it helps myself branding and marketing wise too, that I'm not a fat slob anymore. So it definitely
Well,
works out
I'm
for me.
very on getting that done. It's not easy to do. So I know that it
No.
takes a lot of willpower and a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um,
Appreciate it. Well, let's get a big round of applause for you. Obviously, something that we've seen on social media lately was you starting up your new business, My Favorite DJ Agency. It's been huge with all the DJs that I follow. Everybody's just kind of been giving you your flowers. What made you want to get started with this agency, and how did it come about?
so I realized that there was a bit of a gap in the marketplace for something like this to exist. And realistically, I needed a team around me that I would be able to help and filter extra work towards. And it just kind of grew from there. I had a DM that hit me in January, and they wanted to book. So I locked in a date, and then I said, "Is there anything else?" And the date that they sent me, I was busy, so I sent it to my buddy. And I thought, man, if this were to happen each time I have an extra, I wouldn't leave work on the table for other people. And also, that same person that I just helped out could do the same for me. And so I thought, instead of being one hunter trying to hunt and then bringing back a gig to the table, we could be multiple hunters. And if somebody happens to land something that is suitable for the other hunters, then we can have four failures in a week of no one being able to get any work. And one person comes back and goes, "Hey, we have this account now. We're all going to go work."
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how the idea came to. And then after that, I thought, well, how do we include more? How do we create an inclusion of DJs in other sectors? So we decided to do open signups for the full roster, the main roster being the main DJs that are part of that hunter group, and then the full roster would be a separate segment of the business that's it's quite different. It's subscription based, so you have to sign up and pay a monthly subscription, but you get access to a gig board, which is any work posted by DJs that might need it that are already members. So if you have an open space on a Friday and you need a DJ to come over, instead of posting it on Instagram, you could post it for the community to take from. You also have access to designers. We have a streamlined way of getting design work. All you have to do is go on the website, say, "I need a press kit, I need a logo, I need this," and that's going to bounce to one of the designers, and they're going to give you priority for being a member of the agency, and you're probably going to get a price break to the point where it might be below market rate for that project that you need designed. Also, you get your name listed on the actual website, on the full roster. So it's like, oh, cool. If you have to point someone in the direction of your name being somewhere, that would be a place to be. And so I've been on phone calls. There's an onboarding phone call with each DJ that signs up, which, by the way, sorry to burst bubbles, but the signups got closed because we had so many DJs sign up that I had to put a pause on the signups. We had enough DJs to where I thought, holy smokes, we have to stop this because it's going to be insane. I can't corral 150 DJs. I have to like put a pause to this and figure out what we have. And so on a 1 hour onboarding phone call with all new signups and kind of diagnose and designate what is the best path for them to move forward. Um, just, I guess I should start saying this because like the level of popularity of the agency has gotten to the point where I wouldn't want to say anything detrimental or marketing negative. And this is not one of those things, but I think it might be perceived as such if you're looking at this the wrong way. Like, we're not promising that the second you sign up, you're going to be working in all of the cities where all of the DJs are working at. Like,
Yeah.
what this is honestly it's something else. And if you take time and read on the webpage, you'll realize that there is opportunity for work, but this is more so getting people dialed in and tuned up for the marketplace so they can be a viable product outside of their respective market and go to other places as well.
Hmm.
um, but there's no promise anywhere of, hey, we're definitely going to put you into the Vegas circuit. It's like, we've had tens of DJs sign up, and a lot of times when I call them and I go over all their stuff, I'm finding a lot of things that need to be improved. And that's where this is like, oh, I'm posting quotes from DJs after I talk to them on our Instagram. And it's like, I've never thought of that. Oh my God, that's a great way of looking at it. Oh, if I would have known this sooner, I would have executed. So it's like me being a person that's traveled all over the world to play music, I kind of know what it takes, and I'm sharing that knowledge individually one on one, which is something I was doing prior as well. Whenever a DJ needed help, I would help them. But I realized, well, there seems to be a lot of DJs that need a lot of help. So let's create a community based company by DJs for DJs that's here to answer these questions, that's here to help, that has an open line of communication when someone says, hey, this club is contacting me. They're 3 hours via plane ride. They want to pay me this much money. Should I take it? And then he said, potentially it's easiest saying no. Just say, I can't fly that far for that rate. The standard rate that I'm asking for out of town would be this. Can we make it happen? Right? Like that it escapes a lot of people, and it's something that they would have never thought of saying. So all of those reasons are why I decided to create what we created.
Yeah. And those are all questions that I already had lined up for you. I was going to kind of ask of how that sign up process went, if it was more of a vetting, because obviously I would assume that you're not just wanting to bring in whoever for you to represent. I know that you want to be able to help out everybody that you can, but yeah, sitting down with every single person and having hour-long conversations and kind of picking their brain to see what you can help them with is crazy, and that's awesome. And it's going to be just a big DJ network where hopefully people can get better and better, and like you said, branch out and get different gigs and help out a lot of these guys with some stuff that they might not have thought of. What are some of the main things that came up when you were talking to some of these guys that was the main issue with most of them that they didn't really realize?
They're all different. They're all
Yeah.
different. What I'd like to do is maybe we can schedule something for like December where we sit down after I've vetted everyone and have like three
Yeah.
months of the company going, and then we can kind of get into all the finer details more so because now we just opened up. We had open
Yeah.
signups for 6 hours and we had to close them.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I went to look one day, I just finally, like, saw it on Instagram, and I was already too late, and then all I saw was signups are done, so I didn't even get to see what it looked like for the sign up or anything, but that's crazy that it went that quick, and that's awesome. So congratulations again to you, man. Tell everybody where we can find you on social media and then where we can find the agency.
Instagram is my favorite DJ. That's for me. That's on Twitter as well. The agency is my favorite DJ agency on Instagram. And then if you want to check out the website, it's myfavoritedj.agency. And thank you, man, for having me on. I owe you. So in December, let's have another one. I
Yeah.
know I short because I have DJ signups I got to talk to.
Yeah. You don't owe me anything, man. I appreciate you so much for jumping on. You enjoy the rest of the day. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.